1 hour ago, Lilith put up onto their Facebook the next open field archer commander. So today, we're going to go over all their skills. We're going to look at everything. First time looking at it, I'm going to try and break everything down. I'm going to tell you if they'll be good. I'll tell you their best pairings, what they're going to do for the meta. And that's going to tell you everything you need to know about the newest archer commander. So if you're interested in the next coming archer commander to Rise of Kingdoms, you want to stick around till the end of the video. So now let's start off today's video by going over this commander's skills. And obviously the skills are the most important. And this is the first skill, the active skill of this commander. And it says, if this commander is serving as a primary commander, they deal direct damage to a target troop. If they're serving as a secondary commander, they mighty heal a large portion of their troop's slightly wounded units. And then they'll deal a percentage of this skill's heal strength as true damage to a target troop and temporarily reduce its march speed. What I'm getting here is that it's quite simple. This commander is going to work both for the open field as a normal open field commander and also in a garrison with that unique garrison commander we saw the other day, because as a primary, they're going to be dealing some amount of damage to a single target. It doesn't seem like we have AoE here. It does say target type single. And when they're a secondary, they're just going to deal the mighty heal damage, so they'll synergize with the garrison. This is a really, really smart way to do it, in my opinion. And maybe that means archers won't be going down a healing path. We'll have to see in the future. But that being said, this is definitely a decent active skill. Depending on how much damage we get, I'm going to guess like 2.6 to 2.7 is the amount of damage we'll get at this point. But yeah, this active skill, interesting. Not too insane though. I mean, it shouldn't be too OP. It shouldn't be too underpowered. I think it will do just fine. It does seem though that you won't get this temporary march speed reduction unless you have them as a secondary. Now I do wonder how Mighty Heal will work on the open field. Maybe this commander will be a better secondary, but again, we'll have to see how that goes and how that performs once they're fully in the game, because we don't have any numbers yet. The second skill, this is pretty simple. This commander's archer units gain health and march speed. I'm liking the health and I like the march speed. I hope that it's like 30 to 40% health. That would be insane. And then 20 or so % march speed would be pretty good for an archer commander. It'd be above average. It'd definitely do well. But again, that skill is kind of reliant on us seeing the stats. But the active skill, definitely quite an interesting one. Very similar to the garrison commander that we saw recently. And it does seem like it could still be quite a powerful skill. Moving on to the third skill here, this commander's troop takes less normal damage. I think that's pretty simple. Whenever this commander's troop uses an active skill, it mighty heals up to 3 nearby allied or friendly troops, including this commander's troop, for a large portion of their slightly wounded units. This skill is a cooldown time. Now, after looking at that third skill and comparing that to the active skill, I kind of feel like maybe this commander should be a secondary, because whenever you use a mighty heal, you're going to also heal a few allied or friendly troops, including their own troop, for a good amount of slightly wounded units. This could be useful if it's a decent amount, and if it's open field, strong commanders, the healing might not be too bad, and the fact that you can also take less normal damage, of course, is a nice thing. But that being said, if you use an active skill and you get mighty heal, then maybe it is worth giving it to multiple different troops, and I could see some value in this. Then again, maybe it's just for a garrison to heal swarming troops or stuff like that. We again would have to see once it is officially in the game. Moving on to the fourth skill here, this commander's troop takes less damage. I think that's pretty simple. And then finally, while this commander's troop is on the map, whenever it's reduced to a certain number of units remaining, I want to guess like 100,000, maybe 200,000, it mighty heals for a large portion of its slightly wounded units. For a period after this, their troop loses attack and takes less damage. So this is really a very tanky skill, it seems. The fact that you're literally healing because your troops take damage is quite interesting. Also, it seems that the skill can only trigger once per hour, similar to Constantine, but it will reset if you enter your city. So that's interesting. It's probably going to be something ridiculous in the amount of troops you heal. Maybe close to like 30 to 40,000, I want to say, maybe 50,000 even, but that is definitely quite a very powerful amount of troops to be healing, and it can make quite a big difference on the open field. Finally, looking at this commander's expertise, whenever this commander's troop heals a troop, the healed troop temporarily gains defense and deals more normal damage. Really, that is just a buff which will be available through the third skill right there whenever you mighty heal, which will allow you to increase or at least heal a portion of your own wounded units and your allies' wounded units. So that seems that's the point of the expertise. So now that we've gone over this commander's skills and looked into their expertise and all that, what do I think they're going to do? And I think it's pretty easy. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to serve as a supporting archer commander. A pretty good one, I want to say. I don't think that'd be rubbish. But the thing is, I feel like you need that commander and the garrison commander to really have a chance of running him on the open field. Unless their stats are really good, because we don't know them yet, I don't see how this commander is going to be really good with someone like a Henry, for example. And they don't really have a good debuff. They're kind of lacking in that regard. They don't seem like a very good primary commander. And in my opinion, they just seem like kind of average so far. So unless this commander has something that's going to completely change the game about its healing or the way it trades, I'm not too sure what it is going to be doing. Do I still think I'm going to insta-expertise it? Probably. I mean, it's the point of my channel is archer commanders. I'll probably just expertise it day one regardless. The thing is, though, do I think it's going to be an instant expertise for most people? I don't know till we see the stats. I don't know till we see some actual tests. I wouldn't really bank on this commander being too overpowered. So the next archer commander so far, very, very weird. It looks like you need to get both this commander and the coming garrison to have a proper march. And it also does somewhat look like this commander is going to be a bit of a supporting commander, giving you stats to other marches, which can be nice. But also the healing does concern me. I don't know how good healing is going to end up being from these commanders. Is it going to heal enough to make it worth it? Or is it just going to be like Richard, where you're getting tanky and you're just tanking hits and doing nothing in return? Something like that could make it a bit of an issue. But hopefully if this commander is doing Mighty Heal and it is working, maybe what happens is that you're dealing enough damage to the opponent from the Mighty Healing that it kind of evens out. That's the hope at least. And the other thing with a commander, Mighty Healing, I feel like if you have two Mighty Heal commanders together, one's going to heal and the other one's going to heal and the second one's going to deal way less damage because the first one was able to heal. So really, the primary heals and then the secondary heals and then you deal less damage. That's kind of what I'm getting from it, which again could be another problem with the Mighty Healing. Again, this is all speculation though, because these commanders are not in the game yet, and I couldn't even tell you if they're going to be a very overpowered or underpowered commander. Personally, I'd recommend everyone waits till testing, but the skills are interesting. I see a lot of synergy between this commander, this open field one, and the mystery garrison commander, purely just because of the Mighty Heal factor. If that wasn't there, I wouldn't say they'd be the most overpowered or underpowered commanders. The stats might be good, they might be bad. Unless we're getting really, really large stats on these commanders, I don't know how they'd perform particularly well. I reckon there has to be some really good damage off the Mighty Healing, or there has to be some really, really good tanking stats that would actually make this commander worth it and make them a more tanky commander. It's definitely more unique. I think it would fit infantry more than it would fit archers. But that being said, I'm interested to see where it goes and when this commander comes out, what they can actually do. In terms of their best pairings, I've already said the new garrison commander would work well with them, no doubt. Mighty Heal with Mighty Heal probably would just go well. The fact that whenever things get Mighty Healed, this commander gets bonuses. Obviously, those would go well together. The thing is that I don't know who else would it work well with, because this commander is really nothing like any other archer commander in the game. They're more of a supporting commander as a secondary, I think is where you'd want to run them. Even though they deal direct damage whenever they're a primary, they can't get half of their kit because it's mostly locked behind Mighty Healing. So I feel that a secondary to someone who's probably a bit tanky, such as Henry, could be interesting. Maybe a secondary to someone like Boudica, who's a lot more damage, could be interesting. I mean, this commander is still dealing direct damage factor. Actually, I was wrong. They're dealing true damage. So maybe Boudica's not the best option. Then leaves you like Herman, Zulang, Henry, and like YSG, or Shibani Pal. So any of those commanders, I guess, would have to be your main option besides the garrison. And that's kind of what turns me off them. I'm not too sure how we'd really run them in a normal archer mutable that we currently have without getting a second garrison, or at least getting this garrison commander. Like, I have a Shobani Pal, he's great on the open field, and I only got him to replace my Nebuchadnezzar. No, sorry, my Cyrus. That's the main reason I got a Shobani Pal. If I get this new commander, who am I going to be able to replace with them? Almost no one until I get the garrison. That's the problem. If I do get it, I think this March will be stronger than Henry and YSG, because the garrison does deal AoE and this open field commander doesn't. But that being said, I just don't know who this commander would really pair well with on the open field. My guess, maybe a Henry primary and this commander's secondary could be nice, because you still get skill damage reductions. Henry's still going to be pretty tanky, but then you're only dealing single target damage. That again though, you'll make an even tankier march with the Henry there. You'll be buffing your other marches, you'll be taking less damage, and I see it working as a combination. And also, Henry does lack health, he does lack on-territory march speed, so really, anything that's going to make Henry stronger, I think, could work, and this commander does seem like a pretty good option, especially since YSG very outdated nowadays. His damage is still okay, but it's not the most overpowered. And he's also starting to get pretty old. So currently, just simply put, I think that Henry with this new commander is probably going to be the way to go. I don't know until we see stats. I don't know until we see tests. But this new commander does seem like they're going to perform okay, maybe with a Henry, or definitely they'll perform pretty well with this new Garrison commander, who also we got revealed a few days ago. So what do I think this means for the future of Archer commanders? And what do I think it means for the future of Archers in general? And initially when I saw the commander's kit, I thought maybe they weren't going to go hardcore on the mighty healing, but now I'm back to what I initially thought. This open field commander kind of seems to confirm it for me. Lilith wants to do something besides normal damage factor. They don't just want to have damage factor commanders who are really the same thing reskinned. Let's be real. Just because Boudica is slower doesn't mean she's pretty much not just a Nevsky with different stats. That's the realistic part behind it. So I think Lilith really wants to have different commanders, different commander types, and I think that Mighty Heal might be a way to counter Smite in the future. So there's a good chance that these commanders do end up being meta, and there's a good chance that maybe they end up like a Belisarius and they're completely useless. So I'll have to really give a final judgment on where it's going to affect Archers once they're fully in the game, but it does allow me to predict that we're going to see more Mighty Healing in the future. I think they're not going to stop with this random Mighty Heal commander. It seems like it was a very thought out thing. It wasn't just a random, let's just add it into the game, and it's probably going to end up like Smite. Archers are going to receive Mighty Heal, it's going to be their new thing, and not many other commanders, if any, will ever receive that effect. So Mighty Heal, probably an Archer only thing, which means us Archer mains finally have something interesting coming, but it is a bit weird that Archers are replacing infantry in the regard of being tanky. Mighty Heal definitely is not a king of damage, it seems to be more of a more tanking DPS thing, not a dealing damage. So I think that it is moving towards a bit of a tanky Archer meta, something I've never really seen, and it's a tanky Archer meta that is still able to probably deal a bit of damage back, because the fact is, if you're dealing damage whenever you heal, you kind of want to take damage to deal damage, and it could lead to a bit of a weird glass cannon situation even, or maybe trying to damage your march on barbarians to destroy your opponents. Something like that could be interesting. I'm not too sure how it would end up, but yeah, Archers are in for a very strange new meta, and I'm not too sure how it's going to go or what effects it may have, but it's definitely obvious that Mighty Heal seems like it's new, and it's definitely here to stay. The final thing I'll talk about is just some general information when it comes to this commander. First of all, the first commander, I didn't mention it, the first one that came out is most likely going to be a Garrison. Actually, they're definitely a Garrison, and they'll be available in the Mightiest Governor. And this new Archer commander, who again, we don't really know the name of any of them, but the new open field Archer probably will be available in the Wheel of Fortune. That's going to be my guess if I were to be fully honest. And then my release date estimate, I want to say around September, middle of September-ish. We'll probably see more information about them over the coming weeks. We'll probably see some stats, and I'll be able to do some tests, hopefully with the Rise of Kingdoms tester. So stuff like that is where I'm going to predict that this commander does end up getting released. Around mid-September, we'll probably see more information on them around the start of September, or a little bit closer to the release. And then they'll be in the game, and then I'll end up maxing maybe the Garrison one first, because that one has AoE. We'll have to see, I haven't decided yet, but definitely these new commanders seem to be very strange, very unique, and they're not something that we've seen before. Now, if you enjoyed today's video and you liked the content I gave, I'm literally recording this an hour after the Rise of Kingdoms Facebook made the post. Please do consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to insta-expertise this open field or Garrison commander when they first release, because I can and because it's my job. So if you want to see me instant expertise even before I see testing, subscribe to the channel. I'll tell you test results. I'll have real open field experience from a middle low spender perspective, and I'll tell you if this commander is doing good for me or doing absolutely rubbish. So if you want to know everything to do with Archers, what the new meta is going to be, how I think the new meta will end up running, tips for the new meta once it's fully in the game, I am the best channel to subscribe to for it. So consider subscribing, it supports me, it's going to help you out, and it's really, really easy to do. Now I just want to say, I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.